The phone rang while I was sorting maintenance reports at the shop. Nothing unusual at first. The number looked unfamiliar, but plenty of vendors called during the day, so I just picked up. A man spoke before I could say much. "Mr. Hale, I'm calling regarding the $120,000 you guaranteed for Hannah Hale." For a second, everything in my hands stopped moving. "What did you say?" He repeated the number, as if reading from a script. "You're listed as the guarantor. We need confirmation of repayment." A weight settled in my chest. "I never signed for anything." "We have your authorization," he replied. "A scan with your signature. I can send it now." A notification appeared on my phone before I finished breathing. The image showed my name, my address, and a chopped-up version of my signature. The curves mismatched, the spacing wrong. Anyone who had ever seen my handwriting would have noticed. "That's not mine," slipped out of my mouth low and steady. He didn't argue. "Your daughter provided supporting documents. She sent photos of the property in Gresham to verify collateral. We proceeded based on that." Something cold worked its way through my spine. Hannah knew the house had no lien. She knew I kept my finances clean. She also knew most people assumed a father would step in no matter what. "When do you want to meet?" "It would be best today." "We'd like to resolve this quickly," he answered. "Fine. Tell me where came out flat without hesitation." He gave an address near a commercial lot on the east side. His tone shifted, expecting a fight, hoping to avoid one. The call ended. Shop noise dulled behind me. No one noticed my breath hitch. Years of holding things together made that easy. I opened the file, zooming in on the forgery. The pressure marks didn't match. The edges carried digital noise. A coworker passed. "Need help with the reports? I'm stepping out," I said, grabbing my jacket. "You good?" "Yeah, I'll handle it." The words felt dry. Walking toward the exit, I checked the signature again. Some part of me still searched for a harmless explanation. A clerical error, a mix-up, anything that didn't mean Hannah had sent a picture of my house to strangers for money. Nothing fit. I pushed through the doorway into the parking lot. The forged scan burned into my thoughts. One question followed me as I unlocked the truck. What had Hannah done? And how far had she gone without telling me? Traffic crawled toward the U.S. Bank branch, but my mind didn't slow. A young banker waved me over. "How can I help you today?" "My name is Robert Hale. Someone used my identity to guarantee a loan. I need to see every document tied to it." Her expression shifted. She asked for my ID typed for a while, then turned the screen slightly enough for me to see. "This is the file. It shows you authorized the guarantee. Your home photo is attached. Who uploaded that? It was done under family authorization. First-degree relative. That doesn't happen without proof," came out sharper than intended. She lowered her voice. "The system shows approval came through an account linked to your household. Because of that, we can't remove your name without a legal review." She printed the forms. The signature looked even worse on paper. Jagged corners. Uneven spacing. Whoever copied it had rushed the job. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Hannah's name flashed on the screen. The banker stepped aside while I answered. "Hannah, why is my name on a loan you took out? I don't know what you're talking about," she said, breathy, shaky in a way she often used when she wanted sympathy. "That's my house in the photos you sent them. I didn't send anything. You always think the worst of me. Why would I do that? Because your name is everywhere on the file." A sudden sniffle came through the line. "You never trust me. Maybe if you actually helped when I needed it, I wouldn't be in this mess." Hannah. The call ended. My hand stayed on the phone a moment longer than necessary. The banker returned with a stack of disclosures. "You should speak to our fraud team. This looks suspicious." Suspicious didn't even scrape the surface. Leaving the branch, I didn't drive home. My truck turned toward a small strip of offices south of town. The sign for Ortiz Financial Services came into view, and something in me steadied. If anyone could make sense of this, it was Miriam. She opened the door herself when she heard my steps. "Robert, you look pale." "Come in." No small talk followed. She led me to her desk and waited until the papers were spread out. "This is a cut-and-paste job," she said, after a short glance. "Your signature doesn't align with the baseline. And look at this, your name is duplicated from a previous document. Whoever did this used a low-resolution copy." Her pen tapped the property photo next. "And this shouldn't be used as collateral without a lien holder. A bank would need detailed valuation documents. Who processed this? Some guy from a private lending outfit. That explains the sloppiness." She kept flipping pages, her brow tightening with each line. "Robert, why didn't you set harder boundaries after Linda passed? You've been carrying everything alone. People think you won't push back. That's not the problem here." "It's part of it," she replied gently. "Hannah's been leaning on you for years without hearing the word no. That changes how someone behaves. No argument left my mouth. There was nothing to challenge. The truth had been sitting in front of me for a long time. I just hadn't wanted to look at it." Miriam opened her laptop and began checking public financial records. "This loan isn't the only activity tied to your information. A few days ago, someone logged into a credit monitoring portal under your name. Did you do that?" "No." Her fingers paused over the keyboard. "Then someone else tried to view your credit score and insurance summary. Whoever accessed it needed your social security number." A dull throb pressed at the back of my head. How long ago? 48 hours. She spun the screen toward me. "This IP address is registered near the apartment complex where Hannah lives." My mouth stayed shut. Breathing felt deliberate. Not because I was shocked, because something in me had expected exactly this, but hoped I was wrong. Miriam closed the laptop. "You need full documentation before confronting her again. This is more than a forged signature. Someone's digging around your financial life, and if they're willing to forge your name once, they'll do it again." Her voice softened. "Robert, this could escalate. You should prepare for that." A small nod was all I managed. She gathered every sheet, placed them neatly into a folder, then handed it to me. "One more thing. Check your accounts tonight. See if anything else has been touched. If we're seeing this much already, there's more." The weight of the folder settled into my palms as I stood. A low hum from the office next door seeped into the room, blending with the shuffle of papers and the scrape of my chair. Nothing dramatic, just the sound of an ordinary day stretching on, while the ground under my feet shifted. Miriam walked me to the door and repeated, "Don't wait too long to check. Something isn't lining up." The credit services office sat in a low building off Sandy Boulevard. A clerk directed me to a workstation where a young analyst introduced himself as Trevor. He looked barely old enough to rent a car, but his typing speed told me he knew what he was doing. "What do you need to review today, Mr. Hale? I want every record tied to my credit profile. Access logs account changes anything." Trevor scrolled through several screens. "There's been unusual traffic. Did you authorize a third party recently?" "Number so." His eyebrows lifted. "Then this request is odd. Someone submitted a form asking for a financial capacity and mental competency evaluation. It's filed under your name." A faint ringing filled my ears. "Show me." Trevor turned the monitor slightly. An email address that resembled mine appeared, but 2 characters were reversed. Whoever set it up tried to mimic my real one closely, just enough to pass a quick glance. He highlighted the request. "These evaluations are usually filed by immediate family members. They're used when someone wants the court or a lender to determine if a person should still manage their own finances. So this could make me legally incompetent if processed? Yes. It can freeze accounts temporarily." A breath left my chest in a slow, controlled release. Who filed it? The signature line says it came from a relative. I can't verify more than that. Trevor printed the logs and slid them to me. You might want to escalate this. It's rare to see these filed without the individual's involvement. His tone held concern, not judgment. The pages felt heavier than they should have. Leaving the building, I walked until the air cooled my face enough to think clearly. Someone planned more than a quick scam. Someone wanted control. The truck door shut harder than intended. A glance at the time reminded me of the meeting arranged with the lenders. Canceling wasn't an option. Too much depended on hearing their side. The commercial lot near the mall was half full. A sedan idled near the far corner, and two men stepped out when they spotted me. Neither looked threatening, just cautious. "You're Hale," one of them asked. "Yes. We didn't expect you to come alone. I'm here for information. Tell me how you got my documents." The taller one rubbed his palm over his jeans. "Look, we do short-term loans. People come to us when banks won't help. Your daughter said you'd agreed to back her. She gave us copies of your ID, that property photo, and the signature page. How did she give them to you?" "She emailed everything, then showed up once to confirm. Said you weren't great with paperwork anymore." "What exactly did she say, that you forget things? Get mixed up about bills?" "She said you didn't like talking about it." The muscles along my neck tightened, but my voice stayed even. "Did she tell you I signed that page in front of her?" "Yeah. Said you just, don't remember details." "Did she ever present an original copy?" "No. Everything was digital. We figured you two agreed on the arrangement. She didn't look like she was hiding anything." Another man added, "She said you'd be confused if we contacted you directly." So we didn't. Their unease grew as they kept talking, as if they finally realized how deep they'd been pulled into something reckless. One of them cleared his throat. "We didn't mean to cause trouble. If we knew you followed your standard procedure, I cut in. Just keep talking." Both men exchanged a glance, then admitted the truth bit by bit. Hannah approached them once with the documents once to pressure the loan through. She insisted she'd take full responsibility but needed my name for approval. She also warned them that I might deny everything because of memory issues. Each line settled into my thoughts like weights placed on a scale that had already tipped. They kept apologizing. Not because of guilt, but because the situation now looked riskier than they'd expected. One man handed me a printed timeline from their system. Dates uploads the exact IP address tied to each submission. Evidence that pointed in one direction. I folded the sheet carefully and slipped it into the folder Miriam had given me earlier. "Are we in trouble?" the shorter man asked. "That depends on what you do next. If investigators ask for details, tell them everything. We will." The meeting ended without raised voices, no accusations, no threats. But I learned what mattered. Hannah hadn't acted out of panic. She had built a narrative where I was the unreliable parent who forgot what I'd signed. Walking back to my truck, a strange stillness settled in. Not calm, more like finally recognizing a pattern I'd avoided too long. The drive to Gresham blurred by. No radio, just thoughts stacking on top of one another. Once home, I went straight to the laptop. It powered on, then flashed a message: account locked. The password had been changed. A verification code had been sent to my recovery number. No code ever reached me. Before the frustration settled, my phone vibrated. An email from my insurance provider: request to change primary account manager confirmed. Another line followed: OTP verified successfully. Verified by whom? A second alert arrived, this time from my credit union management privileges, updated. After 3 tries, the banking app opened. My small emergency savings account showed a balance close to 0. A withdrawal had been processed that morning, cash taken out in person. Someone had walked away with it. A banner appeared. This transaction cannot be reversed without a fraud review. The irony stung. I texted Miriam a short message. Can you come? It's urgent. Her response arrived instantly, on my way. While waiting, I checked the insurance dashboard from my phone. The page loaded slowly. A new note sat at the top, Guardian privileges pending review. Guardian, one word that hit harder than the rest. A knock at the door pulled me back. Miriam stepped inside without waiting for a second call. What happened? She asked, scanning my face before glancing at the laptop's frozen login screen. Everything's being reassigned came out low. My accounts, my insurance, even my password recovery, and someone drained one of the savings accounts. She moved toward the table, already reading the notifications popping up on my phone. This isn't a simple theft. Someone wants a record that you can't manage your financial life. That's what Trevor said, I answered. He showed me the competency request. That's the last piece of the puzzle, she muttered. If someone gathers enough evidence showing you're confused, locked out of your own accounts, losing funds, missing notifications, it builds a case for legal incompetence. It looks like I can't track my own money. Exactly. Her tone wasn't dramatic or sympathetic. It carried the weight of a professional stating facts, the kind you couldn't argue with because the numbers proved them true. She sat across from me. Robert, whoever is doing this wants more than your signature. They want authority. Once someone becomes your legal manager, they control everything. The room seemed to hold that sentence between us. No way to soften it, no way to sidestep what she meant. A thought formed, unwelcome, but impossible to push away. This is deliberate. Miriam didn't answer immediately. She tapped the locked screen lightly. You're dealing with someone who believes you won't fight back. They're counting on your restraint. The cruelty wasn't in the theft itself. It was in the strategy behind it. Each move designed to paint me as unstable, confused, forgetful. A man slipping. For years, I had been the constant one showing up to work, handling bills, keeping life steady. That version of me was being rewritten without my permission. Miriam pulled out her tablet, already drafting a plan. You need a complete list of irregular activities. Screenshots, bank statements, login attempts, everything. Then you take it to the police. But you can't go yet. Why not? Because whoever filed that competency request might try to twist your report into proof you're panicking or misunderstanding. You need clean, structured evidence before you walk into a station. She was right. Reporting too early could backfire. A new vibration rattled the table. Hannah's name lit up the screen. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The message preview showed only the first few words. I talked to the police. They'll be reaching out to you soon. The house felt too small after Hannah's message, so I grabbed my keys and walked out without saying another word to Miriam. She understood, and didn't try to stop me. The truck moved on its own toward the Willamette. I only realized where I was heading when the river came into view. Phone in hand, I called her. Miriam picked up on the first ring. What happened now? She contacted the police, I said. She told me they'd be reaching out. Miriam didn't respond right away. That means she filed something formal. If she went through with the competency route, law enforcement or adult protective services could step in. Explain that. They can limit access to your funds temporarily, freeze accounts, redirect management to a proxy, or request a wellness check. It depends on how convincing her paperwork is. The river moved steadily below the overlook, but my attention stayed on her voice. So she's trying to make me look unfit. She's doing more than that, Miriam continued. I checked the logs again after I left your place. There's an attempt to pull your life insurance file. The IP matches her building. A low breath escaped before I realized it. She's digging for everything. Robert, this is structured. None of it is random. Silence followed. Not because I lacked words, because none of them mattered. Years of making too many allowances, stepping aside, avoiding conflict, all of it had built the road she was walking on now. Miriam's voice cut into my thoughts. You have to start protecting yourself. Gather every piece of evidence. I have the recordings from the lenders. Save them. Back them up. Email them to yourself. And document every notification that came from your accounts. She didn't soften her tone. I appreciated that. Pity would have felt like another attack. A car door slammed nearby. Someone laughed from another lot. Life continued around me as if my financial identity hadn't been yanked out from under me. Strange how the world never pauses for anyone's disaster. Miriam said, "You need to accept something she thinks you won't fight. She's counting on that." I know. Then stop giving her room. Another moment passed before she added, "Where are you going now, Wells Fargo? I need to freeze everything before she moves any further." That's the right step. Call me after. The line clicked off. I stayed with the phone in my hand, studying the notifications on the screen. Every alert told a different part of the same story, someone rewriting who I was building a version of me that couldn't keep track of a password or a dollar. A cold heaviness spread across my chest at the thought of Hannah walking into a police station and presenting that version of me. Not a confused father, just a man who avoided conflict so long that someone turned his restraint into leverage. Turning back to the truck, I opened the folder from the glove compartment. The recordings were there, the lenders stumbling through explanations, admitting she told them I was unreliable, easily misled. Each sentence worked like a puzzle piece, none of them pretty. A phrase from years ago surfaced, something my father used to say when he caught trouble before it grew claws. Don't wait for the wound to fester. I'd let mine rot far too long. The drive to Wells Fargo took less than 15 minutes. The branch sat between a pharmacy and a used phone shop, both still open. People walked past with bags, receipts, concerns that belonged only to them. No one had any idea that my life was pivoting on a hinge they couldn't see. Inside, the receptionist asked, "How can we help you this evening? I need to freeze every account under my name immediately." She blinked once, sensing the tension in my voice. "Is this due to fraud?" "Yes." She escorted me to a desk where a manager listened carefully as I explained only what was necessary. No drama. No side details, just facts. Someone changed my recovery methods. Someone pulled from my savings. And someone filed to change who manages my financial and insurance accounts. The manager typed quickly, "We can initiate a total freeze. But you won't have access during the review. That's fine. Are you aware this may escalate if someone else claims authority to act on your behalf?" "That's exactly why I'm here." She nodded and printed the forms. While signing, my hands stayed steady. Not because I felt strong, because the situation left no room for anything else. A person can only shake for so long before steadiness returns out of necessity. The manager slid the final page toward me. "All accounts will be locked within minutes. You'll receive confirmation by text." As I stepped out of the branch, my phone lit with alerts, freeze confirmations stacking until the entire screen filled. Relief and loss twisted together. Cutting access to everything I owned shut down the path she'd been using, but it also meant accepting that whatever bond remained wouldn't survive untouched. By the time I reached the truck, the last notification had faded. Receipts, papers, and the evidence folder lay scattered across the passenger seat. The moment felt unnaturally still, like the pause between two waves. The phone felt heavy when I dialed the non-emergency line for the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. Freezing the accounts had been necessary, but it pushed the next step onto my shoulders sooner than I expected. A dispatcher answered. "Sheriff's Office. How can we assist you? I need to file a report for identity fraud and forgery," I said. Someone used my name to secure a loan and access my financial accounts. She took my information and transferred me to an officer named Ramirez. This is Officer Ramirez. Tell me what's going on. A forged signature. Unauthorized access to my accounts, and attempts to change legal control over my financial management. There was a pause, followed by Ramirez clearing his throat. Mr. Hale, your name came across our desk earlier today. How we received a report from your daughter, Hannah Hale. She stated, you've been experiencing memory lapses, forgetting payments, and making erratic withdrawals. She submitted documentation. The muscles along my shoulders pulled tight. That's not true. I'm not saying it is, he replied. But we now have two conflicting claims. To sort this out, I'll need you to come in with everything you have, documents, recordings, bank notices. The more detailed, the better. For the first time in days, something inside me shifted. Not relief, but a faint sense that the ground might not be entirely stacked against me. I can bring the evidence tonight. That would help. We need clarity before this goes any further. Ramirez gave me a time window and instructions. The call ended, but the weight didn't lift. Before I could put the phone down, another alert arrived from Wells Fargo. A new email from Hannah. As temporary guardian, I'm requesting account consolidation for stability purposes. A second line. Please confirm processing as soon as possible. My jaw tensed. She had sent it to the fraud department, the main banking address, and even CC'd a customer relations inbox. Every message used the same phrasing, cold administrative, as if she were filing a routine update on someone who no longer understood their own affairs. The phone rang again. A number from the bank flashed on the screen. I answered. Mr. Hale, this is Ashlyn from Wells Fargo. We received an email from someone claiming to be your temporary guardian. Are you aware of this request? Yes, I said. It's fraudulent. We thought so, but policy requires us to confirm. Because of the conflicting submissions, one of your smaller accounts has been temporarily frozen. Which one? The Bridgeway savings account. I closed my eyes for a second. That account was nearly empty after the earlier withdrawal, but the freeze itself carried implications. If she managed to freeze one, she could claim I'd been locked out due to confusion. Every bit of her plan fed into the next. Do not give her access, I said. I'll bring documentation to the police and to your branch. We'll flag the account for fraud review. Please act quickly. Another click. Another weight added to the pile. The folder on the passenger seat stared back at me. The lender's statements, the altered signature copies of every email, enough to draw the outline of what she'd been constructing behind my back. A chime cut through the cabin before I started the engine. This time it wasn't the bank, it came from the lending company that had dealt with the forged signature. Mr. Hale, a man said when I picked up. It was the taller lender from the parking lot. Your daughter contacted us again. What did she say? She wants us to transfer the debt under your name completely. She said her evaluation paperwork proves you agreed, but forgot. She insists she's the guardian in charge. A long breath steadied me. Did you process it? No. Not without clarity. But she's pushing hard. Sending documents. Hold everything. Do not transfer a thing. We won't, he said. But you should know she said she'd contact the authorities if we didn't follow her instructions. Let her, I replied, voice low. Just keep all her messages. We will. The call ended. The truck sat under the dim parking lot, lights engine off. My grip on the phone wasn't anger, it was recognition. This wasn't panic on her part. It was structure. A plan she believed airtight. Every step pointed to the same truth she intended to shift her debt onto me, permanently backed by a portrait of me as a man losing his grip on reality. And she thought she was close to finishing it. The thought didn't break me. It simply sharpened what exhaustion had been dulling. Standing still wouldn't stop anything. The station doors slid open as I walked in. A receptionist led me to a small interview room where Officer Ramirez waited with a laptop and a legal pad. "Let's start with what you brought," he said. I spread the evidence on the table, the forged signature property photos recordings from lenders, access logs, bank emails, insurance notices. No speeches, just facts arranged plainly. Ramirez reviewed the first page, then looked up. "Walk me through the sequence." He wrote as I talked, pen moving without pause, and with each line he noted my breathing steadied, not because any of it felt right, but because clarity carried its own kind of strength. He stopped when I mentioned the competency request. "Your daughter filed this under an email meant to look like yours, yes. And she told lenders you were unreliable with paperwork, yes. And she claimed to be your temporary guardian, yes." He leaned back slightly. "She's building a false narrative one she tried to support with forged documents and unauthorized access. This is not a misunderstanding." The words landed without pity and without hesitation. A line I'd spent weeks circling around was now drawn clearly between us. My phone buzzed. A message from Miriam appeared. "Sending you the signature analysis now." Seconds later, another notification came in with a PDF attachment, her full technical breakdown of the altered signature. Every splice, every mismatched edge highlighted. The report was clinical and undeniable. "More evidence," I said, sliding the phone toward Ramirez. He opened the file, his eyebrows rising as he scrolled. "This is strong. Very strong. Whoever forged this didn't expect forensic review." Miriam texted again. "Use it. It proves intent." Ramirez printed the report and added it to the stack. "Mr. Hale, I need to ask something directly. Has your daughter ever attempted something like this before?" "No," I said, "but she's avoided responsibility for years, and I kept excusing it." "People grow bold when no one pushes back," he replied. There was no judgment behind the statement, only an observation made from experience. He stood. "I'll be right back. Your daughter was also asked to appear today. She's in another room." My stomach tightened, but not from fear anticipation. Something in me shifted again, a final piece clicking into place. Whatever guilt I used to carry felt lighter now, replaced by something firmer. 10 minutes passed before Ramirez returned. His expression told me more than his words would. "She's claiming you're confused about dates, that you forgot giving her permission, and that the financial inconsistencies come from your declining memory. And you believe that I asked?" "No. Her statements contradict each other. She also changed her story 3 times, and the timeline she gave doesn't match the digital trail." He sat across from me. "We'll need you to sign a formal complaint. Once that's done, we can freeze the situation on our end." I nodded. The pen felt steadier in my hand than it had in days. While signing, another call buzzed in my pocket. Ramirez gestured for me to answer. It was a bank representative. "Mr. Hale, we received another request from your daughter claiming to be your guardian. It conflicts with the fraud alert we placed earlier. Because of this, we're suspending all requests tied to your name until law enforcement provides clarification." "Understood." Ramirez listened as I repeated the key points. When the call ended, he tapped his pad thoughtfully. "That confirms our next step." "What step is that?" "An immediate hold on all financial activity under your name to protect you from further damage, and the opening of a criminal investigation into Hannah Hale." The room didn't move. No dramatic shift, no swell of emotion. Just the clean, hard truth landing where it needed to. Ramirez gathered the documents neatly. "We'll process this tonight. Expect follow-up questions, but from this moment forward, you're no longer the one under scrutiny." For the first time in weeks, the weight pressing against my ribs eased, not because anything was over, but because the fight finally felt balanced. Ramirez stood and held the door. "We'll take it from here, Mr. Hale." I rose slowly, the folder lighter now, as if handing over the evidence had drained something poisonous out of it. As I stepped into the hallway, the murmur of voices carried faintly from another room. One of them belonged to Hannah. The officer walked beside me until we reached the front counter. He paused long enough to confirm my contact information, then said, "You'll hear from us soon. For now, try to get some rest." Rest wasn't on the horizon, but the path forward was finally visible. The clerk at the Multnomah County Courthouse handed me a stack of forms and asked me to confirm every line before signing. He didn't know the story didn't know how much had unraveled to bring me there. To him, I was just another man requesting full reinstatement of financial authority. "Take your time," he said. The pen moved steadily across the page. Name, address, reason for reinstatement, statement of competency. Nothing dramatic, nothing emotional, just a declaration that I was taking back what should never have been taken. When the last signature landed on the final form, the clerk gathered the documents and stamped them. "You'll get formal confirmation soon. Everything is restored under your sole control." A simple sentence, but it carried the weight of years. Walking out of the building, I didn't feel victorious. Relief didn't come in a rush. What settled in was something quieter, more final. A long overdue acceptance that boundaries left unspoken eventually burn. The sheriff's office called while I was in the parking lot. "Mr. Hale, yes. This is Investigator Ramirez. We notified Hannah Hale of the charges. She's facing counts of forgery fraud and unauthorized access to protected financial data. We've also contacted the lenders. The loan has been voided, and her accounts associated with the submissions are frozen. There was no satisfaction in the update, only confirmation that consequences had finally caught up with her." "What happens next?" I asked. "She'll have a court date. You may be asked for additional statements. But as of now, you're clear of responsibility, legally and financially." "Thank you." He paused before ending the call. "For what it's worth, you did the right thing." The phone went still in my hand. A strange irony surfaced how many years I'd spent avoiding conflict, thinking silence would protect the relationship. In the end, that silence gave her room to rewrite the story in ways that nearly cost me everything. Back at the elevator shop the next morning, my supervisor waved me over. "You doing okay?" he asked. "I'm fine. Just dealing with some paperwork. If you need extra days, I'm good," I said, not unkindly, just firm. A few coworkers hovered, curious but hesitant. Their questions stayed unspoken when they saw I wasn't opening the door. Work felt grounding. Tools in hand, cables to inspect, gears to align. Predictable tasks with predictable results, something I hadn't had in weeks. During lunch break, I logged into the identity protection program Miriam recommended. The enrollment forms were straightforward. After finishing them, I drove to the DMV to update every piece of documentation tied to my name. New ID, new signatures on file, new verification settings. Banks were next. Then insurance. Then anything that once had a tie to Hannah. Each institution asked if I wanted to add authorized users. No, I told them. Just me. The response was always the same polite nod, but the act meant something larger, a reclaiming of ground I'd given away without noticing. By late afternoon, the workday ended. I didn't want to go home yet. The truck turned toward the Willamette without much thought. The river had become a sort of checkpoint during all this. Not a place for reflection, just a place to acknowledge the end of something. The sky dimmed as I parked along the embankment. A few people walked past with dogs or bags from nearby stores. None of them knew what I had climbed out of. None of them needed to. The last part of the day took me across town to the community center. A laminated flyer posted on the entrance door advertised a program on financial safety for older adults, fraud prevention online security account protection. Months ago, I would have ignored it. Convinced myself I didn't need help. Convinced myself that being steady meant being self-reliant. A staff volunteer looked up when I walked in. "Are you here for the registration?" "Yes." She handed me a clipboard. "Fill out the top section. The next session starts next week." While writing my name, a thought drifted through how often people assume resilience means never breaking, when real resilience is what happens after you already have. I finished the form and gave it back. "Thanks," she said. "See you next week," I replied. Stepping farther into the building, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Not triumph, not closure, but steadiness. A sense that whatever came next belonged entirely to me. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough.